Here you go, she's here, with her Welshness for your ears, to read you what you think is nice, whether calm or funny or maybe spice. Her dog by her side calling cooches down, and Poppy, her old cat, curls up all round. In the evening, in the daytime, Welsh Lady reads to you anytime. She'll crack you up, she'll make you cry, you'll be wearing pants that are left undry. She's your very own Welsh Lady, and she's here to make you laugh, make you smile, make you weep, even send you off to sleep. Her family are sheep. Oh, she's Welsh Lady Reads. Yes, she's Welsh Lady Reads. You know you mean so much to her. She tells you in her comments here. She may sometimes struggle, she may fight, but chat is who gives her her might. Just don't cause the dragon flames, as then she's not playing games. In the evening, in the evening, in the daytime, Welsh Lady reads to you anytime. She'll crack you up, she'll make you cry, you'll be wearing pants that are left undry. She's your very own Welsh Lady, and she's here to make you laugh, make you smile, make you weep, even send you off to sleep. Her family are sheep. Oh, she's Welsh Lady Reads. Yes, she's Welsh Lady Reads. You know you mean so much to her. She tells you in her comments here. She may sometimes struggle, she may fight, but chat is who gives her her might. Just don't cause the dragon flames, as then she's not playing games. In the evening, in the evening, in the daytime, Welsh Lady reads to you anytime. She'll crack you up, she'll make you cry, you'll be wearing pants that are left undry. She's your very own Welsh Lady, and she's here to make you laugh, make you smile, make you weep, even send you off to sleep. Her family are sheep. Oh, she's Welsh Lady Reads. Yes, she's Welsh Lady Reads. Oh, she's your Welsh Lady Reads.
Hello, chat. Nice to be with you again. Now, thank you very much, first off, for your feedback on the book, The Yard. I only read the prologue last time, so giving you a little bit of an idea of what the book is about. So we're in 1889, I believe, the year is. And yeah, I appreciate all your lovely comments and the likes. Thank you so much. I'm here now, like as normal in my place, my cutchy place. Getting ready for a new cutchy place soon, and hopefully I'm going to be even more comfortable. and I'm looking forward to that. It might be a little while yet, but we'll see. We'll see. It's definitely going to happen. I'm going to have my own like corner, I think, where I can just cut it down in the day as well, you know. So I got our Colin and our Poppy next to me, and they're all fast asleep. They're all sleeping in there, and if not, they're up to mischief. But yeah, thank you so much for your feedback. I appreciated it. Please go ahead and like the stream. I would be very, very grateful. And I hope you're all doing well. Check your subscribe button. The subscribe button. Check that you are actually receiving notifications. Because you know YouTube, innit? You know. So gonna start where we left off. What is basically is it says day 1 and it is chapter 1. So this is the yard. So let's get into it. Okay, so 2 hours since the discovery of Mr. Little. Sergeant Kett took a moment to scan the station. Euston Square, the metropolitan terminus of the Northern Western Railway, was always bustling. Hundreds of passengers arrived every day for their first experience of the great city, while others fled to Liverpool, Birmingham, Manchester, Nottingham, and all points in between. Kett knew it was unlikely that Inspector Little's killer had remained at the scene of the crime, but still, he held out some slight hope that he would spot the butcher. He stood at the top of the wide double staircase looking south towards the Great Euston Arch. The grand hall was framed by dark red pillars, and sunlight streamed through a domed skylight in the high ceiling, shimmering across the metallic lava floor. The floor's lava! How many people jumped up on my sofas? Remember that stupid trend? But it does say the metallic lava floor. The bright blue uniforms of dozens of constables stood out against the grey sea of day travellers and against the white granite of the station walls. But the presence of so many police in the station, while initially novel, was eventually ignored in the urgent press by commuters to get to their proper destinations. Irish labourers tramped through the massive entrance along with soldiers on leave and small dirty children travelling to stay with distant relatives. Beyond the wide green awnings above the gates outside, the lingering morning fog had begun to burn away, but Kett couldn't see far into the mist. He liked the swirling grey and the possibility of newness somewhere inside or behind it. He scanned the crowd while constables bustled back and forth behind him. Hugh was a doctor with his family, headed away on a vacation, his elaborate beard losing its curls in the sudden heat of the crowded platform. His black bag clutched tight to his chest. His pretty wife bustled along behind, leading a nurse and a young boy, all of them tired and stressed looking. Two tarts Two tarts lighted against the wall. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know how popular this is around the world. You don't hear it so much anymore, but yeah, women who would, I suppose, dress provocatively or were ladies of the night, I don't know, would sometimes be called tart. And for it just, I wasn't expecting that. Two tarts lighted against the wall near one of the meeting rooms, and when he caught their eye, he made a quick motion with his head to indicate that they should move along. They strolled past him and smiled. Yeah, he knows who they are. We does like a man with a full beard, the taller of them said. Quite masculine, the prettier of them said. She had a scar that ran from her scalp to her throat, but it somehow added to her vulnerability and attractiveness. Keep moving, Ket said. Pity. And they were gone, caught up in the crush of bodies. Prostitution was illegal, of course, and they were a cheeky pair to be plying their trade so early in the day and in so public a place. But they were brave in their fashion too, and arresting them would have been fruitless. They would be back at it within the day. Ket shook his head. Murderers, thieves, whores and swindlers were all pressed together alongside the rarest of species, the honest citizen. He could spend the entire afternoon studying the crowds at Euston Square and never sought the decent from the damned. He turned and watched his men do their work. The hierarchy of the yard was unusual in that nobody outranked anybody else. The detective inspectors specialised in certain types of crime, the cases that required the most time to solve. The constables, he never called them bobbies, despite the popularity of that nickname among the general public, dealt with London's day-to-day offences and walked their beats, familiarising themselves with their whole neighbourhoods and their people, always with the goal of nipping problems in the bud before they escalated far enough to warrant the attention of the detectives. And the sergeants, Ket among them, facilitated both constable and inspector, working to ensure that everybody on the force communicated smoothly with everybody else, that everyone was at the top of his game. His constables made him proud. There were times when Ket felt he had to stride up and down among them, barking orders and keeping everyone on their toes. But today, with the gravity of the case before them, every one of the men in blue was bustling, working to do his part. Constable Hammersmith, in particular, seemed tireless, and Ket wondered how long it had been since the young man had slept. He was aware that Hammersmith had worked at least 2 shifts, and he had made a mental note to send the lad home for the rest before he dropped. The new inspector, Day, appeared to be up to the job, but Ket knew little about the man. There was an innocence about him that bothered Ket. He had seen idealistic men come and go, the city leeching hope from them too quickly. It was a mystery to Ket where the day would last at the yard, but Ket would do what he could to help him keep him on the job. There was something immensely likeable about the new detective, though. A sense of duty and of curiosity as well, that could take him a long way. Not everyone was working around the ominous trunk on the gallery floor was under Ket's watch. Dr. Kingsley was an exception, as he was not officially a member of the Metropolitan Police Force of Scotland Yard. He worked from a laboratory in the University College Hospital basement and had created his own position as forensic examiner simply because he felt it was necessary. Before he had taken over the police morgue, forensics had been nearly non-existent. Bodies had been shipped to poorly run storage facilities where they were lost or forgotten. Oh, no. Oh. When you think about it, Jack, don't you think back to what it was like back then, 1880 something, I think. And now, 2025, a huge difference in how we've evolved. But when you think back, you think, God, what was it like living like that? You know, where you might find out one of your relatives' bodies has been lost or forgotten. He was a strange little man, and the police were very wary of him, but his help was invaluable, and he was widely respected within the ranks of the detectives. If Little's killer was smart, he had hopped on the early train and was already far away. But Ket allowed himself a hard smile. They had lost the Ripper, but lessons had been learned. If Little's killer had been bold enough or foolish enough to remain in London, Ket had utter faith that these men would find him and bring him to justice. The bald man stood at the edge of the crowd and watched as Sergeant Ket returned to the gallery. The gruff old policeman had glanced right at him without the slightest sign of recognition. Dr. Kingsley passed Ket on the staircase without a word and left the station through the arch at the far end. The bald man had never met Kingsley, but he'd heard some of the police talking about the aloof forensics specialist. By all accounts, Kingsley was good, beyond good. The bald man wished he knew what Kingsley had whispered to the dark-haired young detective. Oh, so the bald man was watching. Across the platform, the detective frowned and gestured to the two nearby constables. "Take this trunk up to the University College Hospital right away," he said, "to Dr. Kingsley's laboratory, and be careful with it. The body inside is a detective." He spoke too loud, and the crowd gasped. The bald man composed his expression carefully, mirroring the shock he saw on the faces around him. There was a good bit of chatter, people already late returning to work, sharing in the excitement of the discovery and danger at a safe distance. The two men struggled with the trunk. The bald man recognised one of the policemen, a young constable named Pringle. That's just what you eat, isn't it? Instead, if you get your popcorn, if you don't like your popcorn, get some Pringles. His name was Pringle. He raised a hand and Pringle noticed him. The constable nodded his head and gestured toward a relatively deserted corner of the platform. The bald man moved quickly through the crowd and joined Pringle there. "Hello, sir," Pringle said. "Bad bit of business this morning." "I overheard some of it," the bald man said. "A detective?" "In the trunk," Pringle grimaced, nodding his head. "At least that's what he said. Bad for us all, if you ask me. Killing detectives. But I'm sure they'll catch him, whoever did this. They'll catch him straight away, don't you think?" "I hope so, sir. I certainly do." "Well, who's that over there? Who's in charge of it all?" Pringle glanced over at the men shuffling across the platform, the trunk swaying between them, the detective following behind. "That's Day, sir, Detective Inspector Day. He only joined us here last week. Come up from Devon, I think. You wouldn't have met him yet, I'm sure. Day, eh? Williams is his first name. William, oh, no, it's Walter. Walter Day? That's it. Good man? I'm sure. I wouldn't know, sir. But I hope he's up to the task. Can't have nobody running around offing detectives. Next thing they'll be taking aim at us working men. Can't have that. No, of course not. Bad bit of business, Pringle repeated. Well, I'll leave you to it then. Work to do, you know. Of course. Don't worry, Pringle. I'm quite sure your new inspector will do the job upright. Pringle nodded. Sure he will. Bad bit of business, though. Yes, good day then. The bald man turned up the collar of his coat and glanced at the sky as he left the building. Grey clouds were rolling in quickly. The crowd were dispersed as soon as the rain started, and he didn't want to get caught up in the rush. He hurried across the street, avoiding a fresh pile of horse manure, and repeated the detective's name under his breath. Detective Inspector Walter Day would be watching. But the more immediate problem was Dr. Kingsley. Kingsley had shown something to Inspector Day, but the bald man had been too far away to see it. Had he left a clue? The bald man regretted what had happened. He admired the Metropolitan Police, admired them and tried to help them in his own small way. But Inspector Little had stumbled onto his secret and there had been no choice. Kingsley and Day. The bald man muttered their names again and spat at the hard-packed dirt of the street. He would have to keep an eye on Kingsley and Day if they discovered his secret too. The bald man shook his head, dismissing the thought for now. He would follow the investigation, and if Inspector Day came too close to learning the truth, well, Day might just disappear. Constable Pringle brushed imaginary lint from his trousers and straightened the cuffs of his crisp starched shirt. He realised he had a question for the man he'd been talking to and looked across the street, scanning the backs of the departing crowd. Too late. Pringle would have to drop in on him later. He turned and hurried across the platform. Constables Hammersmith and Jones were... Hammersmith's Welsh, I wonder where Jones is from. Were shuffling along, the trunk swinging between them. Oi, Neville! Neville! It's a name I haven't heard for years. Oh gosh, that's a Welsh name. Oi, Neville, Pringle said. You fancy coming with me? Got some things to pick up. Neville Hammersmith looked up and grunted. Neville. Imagine naming your baby that now, these days. Oh, he's so beautiful, look. Look what a beautiful baby boy. What's his name then? Neville. Depends on how long Dr. Kingsley keeps us. If he's got nothing for us, I'll be off duty, but it was a long night, Colin. Won't take long. I could use the company. Bit nervous today. You know. Hammersmith chuckled and switched the handle of the trunk to his other hand. Forgot you were taking Maggie out tonight, old man. It's dinner, nothing more. How very casual of you. May I assume you won't be returning to the flat until late? I won't wait up for you, but wake me when you arrive in the morning, would you? Pringle pursed his lips in a mock frown. Morning? You scandalise me, sir, and you besmirch Maggie's good name. Get on out of here, Pringle, Jones said. Hammersmith's got work to do. Pringle wagged a finger at Jones, but hastened away before anyone could ask him to help with the trunk. He didn't want to get dirt on his new jacket. He would pick up Hammersmith at the college before stopping at the tailor's. The thought of Inspector Little broken and mutilated in the bottom of the trunk passed through his mind, and he swept it away. He'd just got a glimpse of the dead detective before Day had closed the trunk, but it was enough. He hadn't known Little well. The detective had never even looked at Pringle, just muttered orders at him. Little had undoubtedly run across trouble on an investigation and been killed for it, but that would never happen to Pringle. Uh-oh, who sees Pringle getting in trouble? Victim too, maybe? He had joined the force strictly for the dapper uniform and the pretty girls who noticed it. He kept his nose out of the detective's business. He smiled and stepped into the street, promptly planting his foot in a pile of horse manure. Oh, can you imagine the smells? Oh, they'd be so London would have been. I mean, no, he doesn't smell the best at times now, but nowhere near. And you know, in the 80s when I used to visit my my biological father lived in Windsor, and we'd often go to London and smell of the tube, and there's just that murkiness about it back then that I still remember. I suppose was a lot better now, a lot more clearer, I suppose. Well, when they charge you like £2,000 to go through the £2,000 congestion charge, to go to work every day. I suppose you would hope really for cleaner air. It's not £2,000, but it's expensive. I'm not sure what to do. I don't know whether to read chapter 2 because I think that they're only short chapters, and I think that it would be better maybe doing 2 chapters at a time. So I'll do the second chapter and then we'll see. Hopefully it's still like the others, and it'd be nice to do 2 at a time. Yes, it would be nice. So let's go on to chapter 2. The dancing man was already outside the Black Hall at number 4 Whitehall Place when Detective Inspector Walter Day arrived. Day wondered at the fact that the dancing man had thus far avoided the workhouse. Oh gosh, the workhouses. But he had visited that place and had no desire to send anyone there if it could be helped. At least a head taller than Day, with massive hands and feet, the dancing man looked intimidating, but he kept his distance from people and he bowed his head when he spoke. He worked in a way for his daily bread, and Day, who thought himself a good judge of character, found him somehow touching. Today he had found the top half of a broken broom and was displaying it proudly as he gyrated atop an overturned milk crate, blowing kisses to passers-by. Dave gave him a halfpenny and went inside. The Metropolitan Police Force was headquartered in the rear of a massive building located off Great Scotland Yard, and the entrance was commonly called the Back Hall, though there was no corresponding front hall. Day nodded to the sergeant on duty at the desk in the small receiving area and then passed through a short hallway. The main room on the ground floor was segmented. To Day's right, as he left the hallway, was the largest and most accessible section. It housed most of the detectives of the Metropolitan Police Force, along with numerous constables, all of whom hurried in and out day and night, struggling to deal with varying numbers of cases involving burglary, assault, prostitution, missing persons, and muggings. Day did not even glance in their direction. Instead, he turned to his left and walked past a row of communal desks used by police and solicitors to talk to suspects before taking them back through yet another hallway to a walled-off holding area. He passed through a swinging gate and a low wooden railing and into the common office, set up to accommodate the select group of detective inspectors who were referred to by the rest of the force as the Murder Squad. Prior to that, detectives working murder cases had used the same shared desks that were used by constables on the beat, but the Ripper case had changed all that. The railings had been installed and new desks had been brought in, A dozen of the yard's best detectives were moved over and given all of the murder cases in all of London. They were not relieved of many other cases they were already working on. Day hung his jacket and hat on hooks against the far wall, then went to his desk in the large central area. The room was quiet, and he didn't yet feel comfortable there. He hadn't done anything to personalise his desk, sure that he'd been sent back down to Devon when it was discovered that he had no talent as a detective. He'd been a good constable, energetic, strong, and ready to serve. Detective work was daunting. He had seen something in Dr. Kingsley's eyes at the railway station. Day was sure Kingsley knew he wasn't up to the job, positive that everybody knew it except Claire. Michael Blacker waved at him from an identical desk halfway across the big room. Inspector Blacker's desk was messier, papers piled up everywhere, a teapot half buried under a scrapbook, and a solitary left boot, evidence gathered from some bizarre case that had consumed his time for the past 3 days. Another day, eh, Day? Blacker enjoyed the sort of puns and wordplay that Day found most tedious. Blacker, when was the last time you saw Mr. Little? Little? Sometime yesterday. But not for long, just for a little. A little, right? Right. I suppose you're familiar with... I don't suppose you're familiar with any of his cases. Sure, and I've got time galore, don't I? Day nodded. He'd known the answer to that question before he asked it. Last month, 96 corpses had been pulled from the Thames. Oh, gosh. Yeah. It's lovely, the River Thames, isn't it? Look over and it's all brown. Oh. So 96 corpses had been pulled from the Thames, more than half of them with their throats cut. It hadn't been an unusual body count for a city where the annual number of arrests topped 60,000. The 12 working inspectors of Scotland Yard had no time to deal with their own caseloads, much less each other's. And now, without Little, they were 11. This half of the common room was quiet because everyone except Day and Blacker was already out dealing with London's crime. I'll need to see his files. Don't know if he'd like that. Wait for him. He should be here soon. He's not coming in today. Colonel Sir Edward Bradford emerged from his office in the corner and motioned with his good arm. Day, see you in here? Yes, sir. Day crossed the room through the labyrinth of desks, ignoring Blacker's puzzled stare. Inside, Sir Edward's office was small and dim, crowded with heavy furniture. A stuffed tiger's head, the only souvenir on display of Sir Edward's time in India, was mounted on the wall behind the desk. The commissioners closed the door and gestured to an empty chair. When both men were seated, Sir Edward stroked his white beard and closed his eyes. How long have you been with us now, Day? This was it. Day was sure of it. Sure Edward had decided that the younger man wasn't cut out for detective work and was planning to move him back to Devon. It would be a relief, but Day had no idea how he would explain it to his wife. Claire would be so disappointed in him. Almost a week, sir. When I took this post, Mr. Day, it was with the expectation that I would be working with the legendary Inspector March, the greatest detective on the greatest police force in the world. You can imagine my dismay upon arriving in London to find that Mr. March had already tendered his resignation from the murder squad. With a long and illustrious career behind him, Inspector Adrian March had been among the men put in charge of the Ripper investigation. He had failed to catch the wily killer of at least 5 women, and the public knew it. March had retired early from the force. Day had been brought up to replace him, and he still didn't understand why. "Yes, sir," he said. "I suspect you share my dismay." "Yes, sir. And so I have missed my opportunity to work with those great Scotland Yard detectives, Adrian March and Dick Tanner and Frederick Aberlin. But now I have you." "I apologise, sir." Day avoided the Commissioner's eyes. Sir Edward was an intimidating man. He had stepped into the job of Police Commissioner in the months before Day's arrival, and had already had the complete respect of the men under his command. He was a veteran of the Indian Mutiny, about which Day knew very little, and lost his arm in an encounter with a tiger, perhaps the same tiger whose head now surveyed the office from a wooden plank nailed to the wall. It was rumoured that Sir Edward had accepted no anaesthetic during the amputation of his mutilated arm. "There's no need for apologies. This isn't a dressing down, Mr. Day, but I like to acknowledge the reality of a situation, rather than pussyfoot around the way you lot do over here. You have little experience as a policeman, is that correct?" "Sir, I acted as a constable for 4 years in Devon." "I'm aware, but you have never lived in London until quite recently. I've visited many times, and you have no experience whatsoever as a detective." "No, sir." "And yet you were handpicked by the great detective himself as his replacement." "I am as surprised as you are, sir. If you prefer, of course, I'll tender my resignation immediately." Sir Edward waved the suggestion away like a bad odour. "That's not at all what I'm getting at, Mr. Day." He took a handkerchief from his breast pocket and blew his nose with remarkable one-hand dexterity, tucked the cloth away and pointed to an umbrella stand in the corner, behind the door. "The brown ivory one," Sir Edward said. "See it there? Bring it to me, would you?" The stand was crowded with umbrellas. Day ran his fingers across the bouquet of handles, smooth mahogany with mother-of-pearl inlays, burnished white ivory, brass and silver, semi-precious stones, tortoise-shell, carved animal heads and scroll work. One handle was less ornate than the others. It appeared to be of humble, unworked wood, but the surface was smooth and buttery, unlike any wood that Day had seen. He assumed it was brown ivory, so he pulled it from the stand and handed it across the desk. "Have you seen mammoth ivory before, Mr. Day?" No, sir, I don't believe I have. It's worth far less than ivory we see from elephant tusks. Oh, stop cutting elephant tusks. I don't like it. But it placed great value on it nonetheless. This was once the tusk of an animal that is long since extinct, an animal that thundered across the land in great herds, larger and heavier and more impressive than anything it encountered. And it's now as if that animal had never existed but for this bit of bone. Neither you nor I will ever see a mammoth, but here is the proof of its life. Here in this simple umbrella handle. An elephant tusk may be worth more on the open market, but I've seen elephants today, and to hold an elephant tusk in my hand no longer impresses me. Were there any of them in India? What, elephants? There were some, yes. I've never seen one. Sir Edward nodded. Thank you. Yes, it's easy to forget sometimes just how extraordinary that continent is. I do miss the sun, Mr. Day. Since I arrived here, the sky has been grey and my nose has become increasingly raw. I appear to have come down with something or another. I'm sorry to hear it. Sir Edward waved his hand, dismissing the sentiment. I shall improve. Nothing has killed me yet, and a bit of wet weather won't do the job. Where bullets, blades, and scorpions sting has failed. He smiled and held the furled umbrella up to the light. These things, these bones are something that will never be seen again, are dug up by the bushelful every day in Siberia. I wonder how many are left under the ice there. I wouldn't imagine there's a never-ending supply of them. No, of course there isn't. So why do we value the elephant ivory so much more? Elephant ivory is a good deal whiter than mammoth ivory, isn't it, sir? Yes, it is. He laid the umbrella on the desk between them and leaned forward. I value experience, Mr. Day. I understand, sir. Inspector March would naturally be of great value to you than I am, and of greater value to the yard. You're not following. Yes, of course Mr. March would be of great value to me, but as I said, he picked you as his successor. His experience has told him something about you which I have not yet seen, but I must rely on Mr. March's instinct, on his experience, and that means that I must trust you to be up to this job. Thank you, sir. You grasp what I'm trying to get at? I believe so, sir. Good, Sir Edward said. Now, you're at a decided disadvantage here today. Sir, I hope I have more time to prove myself. So you want to continue on this case? This case? They had thought they were still talking in broader terms. Yes, this is perhaps more than you should have to shoulder so soon after arriving. The murder of one of your fellow detectives. I can assign someone else, and there would be no shame in it for you. Blacker or Tiffany can do it. They knew little better than you did. Sir, with all due respect and thank you for your generosity, but it could be that not knowing him might make it easier for me to investigate his death. I have no previous attachment to Mr. Little. You have the attachment of a fellow officer. Of course, sir. I didn't mean what I meant to say, sir, is that it might be more difficult for one of the other men to deal with the hard facts of a friend's murder. I would not be troubled in quite the same way. Sir Edward pursed his lips and stared at a corner of the office. Day watched him, growing more nervous by the second. Finally, Sir Edward blinked and turned his gaze to Day. "Perhaps you're right," he said. "Thank you, sir. Is there any indication yet, any evidence pointing to a culprit?" "Dr. Kingsley found needles and thread at the scene, sir. Obviously they were used to sew Little's mouth shut. It might be worthwhile to track the manufacturer, and there's the trunk itself. Kingsley has the body now, and the trunk as well. I'll be paying him a visit later in the day. Meanwhile, Sergeant Kett and 3 of the other men are still questioning everyone who was on the platform when the trunk was found." "What about the porter who found it?" "He's being brought over." "Good. Let me know what resources you need." "Anything at all. This takes precedence over everything else you may have going. Every man here is to be considered at your disposal." "Sir, that may not sit well with everyone. I haven't proven myself to be one of them yet." "I don't care whether you're one of them or you're a Turkish pasha. They'll jump when you say jump, or they'll answer to me." I hope I just didn't say a slur. I don't know what a pasha is. Apologies if I did. "They'll answer to me." "Yes, sir. One more thing." Sir Edward hesitated, and Day braced himself for the question he knew was coming. The question that had plagued his own thoughts since he stood looking down at Little's mutilated body. "Is it him?" Sir Edward said. "Sir?" Day knew who "him" was, but he didn't want to be the one to say it out loud. "Is it Jack? Is it Jack the Ripper again?" "No, sir. I don't believe so. Whoever killed Little, well, it doesn't match anything we know about Jack or his methods." "Good." Sir Edward rummaged in a drawer behind his chunk of a desk. "I nearly forgot. He left something behind for you, for me to pass on to you." "Inspector March did?" Sir Edward nodded and pushed a small, flat, black leather pouch across the desk. Day hesitated before picking up the pouch and opening it. Tucked in against the threadbare velvet lining, a dozen long iron keys were held in place with fabric loops. A single, smaller key sat loose on top of the others, clearly added as an afterthought. "His skeleton keys," Day said. Sorry. "His skeleton keys," Day said. "He asked me to tell you that those are the most useful tools he could give to you. They served him well in the line of duty. I'm told he had quite a collection of keys." "What's this smaller key? Is it different?" "It is. One moment, please." Sir Edward turned his head and sneezed. He held up a finger for a moment, then turned back to look at Day. "Excuse me, I thought I might sneeze twice." "God bless you." "Thank you. The smaller key is for a unique structure at the south-east corner of Trafalgar Square." "I can't think of what you mean, sir." "You're familiar with the square?" "I've been through it a time or two now. It goes unnoticed by most who pass it, but there is a stone column there with a miniature door and window. It looks very much like a large lamp-post, but there is enough room inside it to fit a man and to lock him in." Day held the small key up so that Sir Edward could see it. "Yes," Sir Edward said. "It is the smallest jail cell in the whole of England." It's in a lamp-post. "But of what possible use is it?" "I don't know that it's ever been used, and Inspector March was apparently the only detective to hold a key to it. My guess is that the key served as a totem for him. He wanted you to have it. Perhaps as nothing more than a keepsake. Or perhaps he thought you might see the same symbolic importance in it that he did." "I'm honoured, sir." Sir Edward turned his head and sneezed again. "There it was," he said. "I knew there was another sneeze coming." He blew his nose into a handkerchief and wiped his eyes with the heel of his hand. "It will be my sad duty to visit Inspector Little's widow this morning," he said. "She will have questions, and I have no answers for her." Day was quiet. "Go on then," Sir Edward said. "Get out there and bring me a murderer." "I will, sir." "Remember, detective work is as much about logical deduction as is dogged footwork. Follow your train of thought and see where it takes you. And Day, sir, if you don't yet believe in yourself and your abilities, at least believe in Mr. March's opinion of you." "Yes, sir." Day fumbled with the knob before he managed to get the door open, and slid out into the common room. It felt bright and airy compared to the close atmosphere in the Commissioner's heavy mahogany office. As Day closed Sir Edward's door behind him, he saw Sergeant Kett entering from the other side of the room, pushing a large man ahead of him. This would be the porter who found the trunk on the station platform. Got him here for you, Inspector," Kett said. "Good man, thank you. What's the fuss about?" Blacker said. He stood up from his desk. "You'll find out soon enough," Day said. "I'd appreciate it if you could gather little things for me. I'll want to sort them after I speak to this man here." Blacker squinted. He was a short, wiry man with a limp, ginger hair and a moustache that curled over his upper lip and into his mouth. "What's happened to Little?" Day gestured for Kett to take the porter to the desk, and he moved his body so that he could talk in semi-privacy with Blacker. "He's been killed?" "No." "I'm afraid so. There's a strong possibility it had to do with one of his cases." "Which one?" "I don't know. It could be any case, current or old." "Who's working it? You?" "I am." Day braced himself, waiting for an argument, but Blacker nodded. "Whatever I can do to help you let me know, and I'm on it right away." Can't say Little was my favourite, but he laughed at my jokes often enough. Thank you, Inspector. Can't have them killing us out there. Job's hard enough as it is. Day watched Blacker, walked to Little's desk and opened the top drawer. Then he turned his attention to the porter and took a deep breath. It was going to be a long afternoon. Well, I didn't think that was too long, chat. I hope you agree. So I'm quite happy that we did the 2 chapters there. I'm quite pleased with the timing on that. Nobody wants to be the one who's spending ages, for it to actually get through the book. And I've noticed that with some of mine. So, yeah, I'm happy. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. It's getting more interesting now. It's giving a bit of historical points now. I'm gonna Google to see if there's a secret lamppost in London you used to hide in. Something tells me it's right. Something tells me, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know London like that. I was only little when I was around that area. But I can imagine some of the conditions and the environment there as well. But I wonder how bold he is then. I've got my suspicion already, but I wonder if you have. I'm not going to say. I'm going to keep it to myself. But it is interesting. I am enjoying this book. It does make me want to know what happens next. I hope you feel the same way as well, and that you look forward to the next chapter of the Yard. And in the meantime, you might want to read some of my other books that I've read. Please like the channel, like the stream. Go to now, like as in now. Because then you won't forget. So like on your way in, or like on your way out. No, I appreciate it. And it is one of those things you say, or you get fed up with YouTubers saying, I know, I understand. But to get anywhere in the algorithm or anywhere to get, we've got to kind of get that going. So that would be great if you could like the stream, subscribe if you're not already, put your notifications on, set it to all, and keep an eye on the community page, because I do usually, not since my hiatus, as I usually write in there as well, in the community tab. So, you don't have to watch any video there, and just have a little quick look. See if there's anything there. Gosh, I'm ready for bed. It's too early. I can't go to bed yet. Oh, I know what I mean now. I'm gonna nap. And then when I nap, then I'll wake up and it will be bedtime. And I won't be able to go to bed. But if I try and hold on, I'll probably go past being tired and be up all night. Does anyone else have this problem with the sleep? You know, my meds should knock me out. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So what's different? Same meds. Anyways, as an aside, thank you so much for listening, chat. I hope you enjoyed this book, and I hope to see you soon and see you around in other channels as well. Don't forget to say hello, and I'm always there looking out for you all to say hi to. And yeah, enjoy this one, chat. Ta-ra!
She's Welsh Lady Reads. Yes, she's Welsh Lady Reads. Oh, she's your Welsh Lady Reads.